Welcome back, guys. This week we're talking about gratitude, a topic that, without mincing words, is most likely ruining your life. Not that being grateful is a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. But the problem is, a lot of us, we try to be grateful without doing the work that causes the gratitude naturally. Well, let's put it this way. If you're making a gratitude list, then gratitude is ruining your life. Why is that? Well, why am I talking about gratitude this week? Because it's Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving in America, at least, the only country that really matters. And what is Thanksgiving a celebration of? Is it about being grateful? Yeah, in part, but ultimately it's about bringing in the harvest. We bring in the harvest, and then we are thankful as a result of bringing in the harvest. It's about productivity. It's about ever more engagement with reality. And of course, on a psychological level, Thanksgiving is about getting our needs met. Remember back to the anger diagram, the needs come in, the injustices come in, and give us an emotional state that we call anger. Anger is a signal that we need something or some injustice exists and we need to get it rectified. Also, when we think of Thanksgiving, we think of awesome Thanksgiving movies, and the best Thanksgiving movie of all time is, of course, Son-in-Law, starring the Weasel, Pauly Shore, who plays Crawl, a RA at UC Northridge, I think. He befriends this girl from the Midwest, I think it's South Dakota, Rebecca, and he shows her how to be a cool California guy to get your hair dyed and dress up, like a hippie, which was the thing to do in 1993 in California. But then when Thanksgiving rolls around, by the way, they're just friends at this point. Crawl and Rebecca are just friends. But when Thanksgiving rolls around, Rebecca realizes Crawl has nowhere to go, so she invites him back to her farm in South Dakota. And there, interacting with Rebecca's family, Crawl realizes that he's actually in love with Rebecca. But he doesn't just realize this out of nowhere. He's engaging with this, this second act, this world that is this farm in South Dakota. He deals with death. Rebecca's grandfather has a heart attack, or maybe it's her father, I forget. He deals with a jealous ex-boyfriend, Travis. He punches Travis in the face. He deals with girls who he likes, but he's not really in love with. Forget her name, played by Tiffany Amber Thiessen. And through this engagement with reality, Crawl becomes aware of his needs. His needs that he's in love with Rebecca, and then in one of the final scenes, he proposes to Rebecca in a very, Crawl, the Weasel kind of way. But what are we learning here? Crawl feels grateful by the end of the movie in a much more honest, sincere way than he felt in the beginning of the movie. When he was doing the hippie guy thing, worried about his hair and the clothes that he wears and everything, basically being a fop, you could say that he was grateful, but he was grateful in a very California, hippie, 1970s way of just always think of things that you're grateful for without engaging with reality. Then he goes to South Dakota, engages with reality, becomes ever more in touch with what he needs. That is, he doesn't need Rebecca to be his friend. He's got enough friends. He needs a girlfriend. He needs a wife. He needs somebody to commit to. And really, that's what gratitude is all about. Gratitude, again, a great end state. But if we just try to approximate gratitude by making ourselves feel grateful, then we are truly missing out on engaging with reality in a helpful way. So how do we feel grateful? Well, it's about getting your needs met. It's about looking at your anger, looking at your needs first of all. Then you have to talk, listen, create some sort of attachment. If you feel grateful without any sincere, honest attachment in your life, you are repressing. Then after talking and listening, talking about the needs and injustices that could be there, again, looking at your sadness. What have I been avoiding? What needs and injustices have I been avoiding? then you feel the anger. If you feel grateful without feeling angry, you're repressing. And then what do? You have your need, you have your anger here. Your anger lets you know what your need is, and it's the very thing that helps you get your need met. Anger is dopamine, and you know what else is dopamine? Love. Anger is love. So we assert the need, we get our needs met, which means getting our need met while not only improving our life, but improving everybody's life around us. Engagement with reality, like Crawl, when he goes to South Dakota. And I bring up Son-in-Law, not just because it's a great Thanksgiving movie, but what happens to Crawl in his transformation from in his original state at UC Northridge to his final state proposing to Rebecca in South Dakota. What changes in Crawl is he becomes masculine. He was effeminate in the beginning of the movie. I mean, Crawl was always a fun guy. And Pauly Shore, don't get me wrong, the guy is a cultural icon. I know we don't want to admit that, but he is a cultural icon. But he was always a little bit effeminate, and that's who he was portraying. Yet he was being the weasel, in a sense, in the first act of Son-in-Law. Yeah, Son-in-Law. That's the name of him, not in-laws. Son-in-Law. But how did he become more masculine? As the point is, he became more in touch with reality. So this is especially an important topic for young men to understand. If you're sitting there making your gratitude list without doing the stuff, without bringing in the harvest, so to speak, you are unknowingly becoming effeminate. And this is a pernicious, insidious topic. It's pernicious because it's insidious because it's pernicious. Okay. Because a lot of psychologists will tell you, oh, you want to be happier? Well, just every time you wake up, every morning, just make a list of 5 things you're grateful for. Again, not that being grateful is wrong, but we got to do the work. We got to bring in the harvest before we can truly feel grateful. And really, this whole point about the gratitude, it really speaks to a problem going on in psychology that started with rational therapy with Albert Ellis in the 1940s and 1950s, and then continued on with CBT. We think that there are negative emotions and positive emotions. Like, it's negative to feel angry. It's negative to feel sad, and that gets approximated to it's wrong to feel angry. It's wrong to feel sad. It's good, therefore, or it's positive to feel grateful. It's positive to feel happy or joy. It's all wrong. You haven't been lied to, but psychologists tend, not to be the sharpest tools. They're essentially English majors who didn't know what else to do, so they went and studied psychology, but they're not technically psychologists. Yeah, they're English majors who talk about psychology. But until you really have a structure for psychology, how could you ever be a psychologist anyway? And so that's what, they tell you to just, make yourself feel happy. If a negative thought comes up, like we talked about with negative thoughts, we talked about with meditation, just think of a way to change that thought. There's no such thing as a negative emotion. There's no such thing as a positive emotion. There's only a negative way to interact with our emotions and a positive way to interact with our emotions. Sadness is fine. It's okay. Just interact with it in a helpful way. Get in touch with what you're sad about. Go back to here, step 2, talk, listen, create attachments. The sadness comes up into your consciousness. You feel it as anger, and only then can you really use the energy of it. If you don't like thinking of anger as anger, just think of it as love. That's essentially what it is. Your brain can barely tell the difference. You get in touch with your anger or your love, if you have to say it that way, and then you can get your need met. So Crawl went from being out of touch with reality, effeminate, to in touch with reality and masculine. He developed his identity. It's only then where he could really see the value in this girl, Rebecca, who was right in front of him, masqueraded as a friend. That's it for this week, guys. Please like and subscribe. Tell a friend about this. please, yeah, and berate all your family and friends this Thanksgiving about what really is grateful or what it means to be grateful. Well, I don't know if you have to do that. But at least when everybody's going around the table saying what they're thankful for at your Thanksgiving dinner, that's fine. Say what you're grateful for, but never at the expense of bringing in the harvest.